then come up with one rule about square rooting that is very important. Like something that Mrs. Innocentia really stressed you, like you have to, I don't know, what's one rule about square rooting that you guys remember? Can you talk in your groups and then I'll have you guys share? Like collectively come up with one.
Every the numbers.
The numbers are important.
Square rooting is the opposite of square.
I can't think today, okay?
And squaring is the opposite of square rooting. You can't square
Alright. You guys each have one? One rule that you remember specifically. Can you guys share yours?
It's base number times the base number, like 6 times 6, 4 times 4.
Yeah, perfect. It's the same number multiplied by itself. Twice. Do you guys have one?
Can't square root a negative number.
You can't square root a negative number. I'm actually going to move on that. So we're going to be learning about cube rooting, and we'll fill in your definitions here. And we'll come back to the you can't square root a negative number, all right? So a cube root of a number p is a number whose cube is equal to p. So a cube root of a number p is a solution to the equation x cubed equals p. The symbol cube root is used to represent a cube root. Oh, yeah. A perfect cube is a number that can be written as a cube as an integer. So that means it'll be a whole number after you cube root it. Okay. So we're going to do the first problem here. The cube root of 64. What does this mean? This means that you're going to have three of the same numbers that equal 64. Do you guys see that? Yeah? Okay, so what do you think, what are some guesses about what three numbers would be multiplied by each other? 4? Yeah, so we have 4 times 4 times 4. That'll be 16 times 4, and that's 64. Do you guys see that? Okay, I like to do this thing where you do a check or an X. So can you show me with your hands, check if you understand, or an X if you don't understand. This way, if you have an X, you can just show it in front of your body, and then nobody sees like you don't understand, and I won't point you out or anything like that, and I'll just re-explain. So do you guys see how 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, so that's the cube root of 64. You see that? Okay. So for B, we have the cube root of negative 125. Now if this was a square root, would we be able to take the square root of the negative? No. But we can take this cube root of a negative because it's a number times a number, but then it's times that other number again. So it's going to be, what would be the cube root of 125? Yeah, 5, right? So we're going to have negative 5, because this is a negative right here, right? Negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. So negative 5 times negative 5 is what?
25.
It's positive 25, right?
Yeah.
So we have positive 25, but then you're multiplying it times a negative 5, which is a negative 125. So this is a way that you can see that you can have a negative under a cube root, but you still cannot have a negative under a square root. Do you guys see that? Can you give me a check or an X? Checks. Okay, cool. So, do you guys remember how to set up part C for square roots? Do you remember what you do with a fraction?
You square root both numbers separately.
Yeah, so the top and the bottom, right?
Yep.
So if we have the cube root of 1 over 27, then that is the cube root of 1 over the cube root of 27. Do you see that? It's cube root, check your X on what I just did there. Are you good? Okay. So what is the cube root of 1? 1, yeah. Cube root of 27? 9. So 9 times 9 is? Yeah. So 3, right? Because 3 times 3 is? 9 times 3 is? 27. So that's 3 right there. Yeah, good. Okay, we'll do this next one here together.
Are you going to show how to do the calculator? I don't think we've done cube yet.
Oh, yeah, we can show you how to do it on your calculator. Have you guys done cube root on your calculator?
I don't know how.
Yes? We have some people who have.
Right.
Okay, so on our calculators, to get the cube root, we're going to go press a 3, and then you're going to go the second button, and then you're going to press the button that has the caret on it, or in the yellow above it, it has the X.
It's the one that looks like an arrow because it's the
Yeah.
exponent key.
Yeah.
The X squared button.
Above the x squared, Gabe.
Yeah.
That's right, Danny.
The one that has the button that looks like this. You're going to 3, second, and then this button.
Because we're undoing cubing, we're cube rooting it,
You guys-
and then type in the number you want. Well, 5's not a perfect cube. That's not going to come out.
So if you guys were to practice that, put 3 and then second the caret symbol with 27. Yeah. Yep. Are you guys getting over here?
Yeah.
Do you guys get it? Sweet. Okay. So we're gonna do part D, and then move on. So we have negative cube root of 1/8. So what do we do here? How is this? So last time we split it up, right? So we're gonna have cube root of 1 over cube root of 8. But we have to remember that we have to carry this negative because this is on the outside. So we have to carry that over here. And then we're going to keep that negative along for the ride, so we're going to have negative. And then the cube root of 1 is? 1, yep. And the cube root of 8 is? 2. Yep, so we get a negative half. Okay. So in our next line down there, we get cubing a number, we'll find, and finding the cube root undo each other. So when you cube something and then you cube root, it's inverse operations. They are inverse operations. That's what you'll fill in right there.
And CJ said it a minute ago, she called it opposites, and that's true too. Like, you know, an inverse operation undoes it, like they're opposite, like addition and subtraction or multiplication and division. Cubing and cube rooting are inverse also. So that blank word is inverse for those of you who might have. You good with that?
Alright, so if we were to set up this next one here. Oh, wait. So, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. We'll do a couple questions. We'll do A first. So A will go over multiplying, kind of what we did with the -1 there in that last problem, is we're keeping it along for the ride until we simplify the cube root. So for A, we have 3 times the cube root of -343. So first, we're going to do this part, right? Because this is in parentheses. This is the exponent in PEMDAS. So we're going to do the cube root of 343. Can someone type that in? -7. Okay. So we're going to keep this 3 along for the ride. 3. And then we're going to multiply it by -7 because that's the cube root. So then we'll get -21. Okay? You guys getting that? Do you see that? Okay. Check. Thanks. Check or X. Okay. So So for this next one, we're gonna go back to the definition that we just filled in. And we have the cube root of 29 cubed. And then plus 12. So first part we're gonna do here is we're gonna do this section. So if we're cube rooting and then cubing something, what would we get there?
They just cancel each other out, so it'd be 29.
Yeah, they cancel each other out, right? Because they're inverse operations.
So this was the example I was talking about when we were talking about the PSAT. That would be a good time to be strategic and go, I don't need to take the cube root of 29 and then turn around and cube 29. I'm gonna get 29 back. Save those seconds. No need to even punch that in. They undo each other.
Yeah. And then, so we have, then that's just gonna be 29, right? Because you're undoing those operations. So you get 29, and then this tags along, and we get plus 12. And 29 plus 12 is 41. Perfect. Okay. So, we're gonna go to the back. Does that all make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions on cubing or cube rooting or the inverse operations of each other? No? Okay, cool. Alright. So we're gonna solve each equation here. Can you guys try A for me, please?
Remember when we're solving an equation, we're trying to isolate the variable. So you gotta think to yourself, how can I get the variable alone?
You said just number one?
Yeah, just number 1 for right now. Okay. Okay, you guys done? We are going to try this first one. So what are we doing to both sides to get this x by itself? Spence? Is that your name? Spence.
Cube rooting?
You're cube rooting, right? So that cancels out the cube over here, so that just gets us x. Then we're going to cube root 729. What's that? 9. Yeah. So then, that's just our answer. We don't have to do any other cube rooting or anything like that. Like this is, you got this so that it's just x, so you don't need to do any other operations with cube rooting or anything like that. Okay, so we'll try this next one over here. Like Mrs. Inocencio said, you gotta make sure that this d cubed is by itself before you can cube root, right? So can you guys try that one? You're making sure that the d cubed is by itself, right? So you want to get rid of the negative 1/2. Alright, so what am I going to do when I have a negative 1/2 d cubed? What am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? What am I going to do here for this? Multiply. Sorry. Yeah, so you're going to multiply by -2. because this cancels out with that, and the negatives both become positive, and then you're just left with 1 on this side, and that's what you need to have the d cubed by itself. Do you see that? If you were to add to both sides, then you're just moving this d cubed over to this side, because you can't separate these two terms by adding or subtracting. Yeah.
Can I move on to the next step? Like, can I explain it?
Sure.
So, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So you also have to multiply by 2 on the other side.
Yes, so exactly. You're going to want to multiply by the same -2 over here. Because you did it to one side, you have to do it to the other side, right? I made that look like a square. Times -2. There you go. So you're multiplying by -2 over here. You're going to multiply by -2 over here. So you have d cubed equals -64. Okay. That was confusing. Who has questions? Does anybody have questions on that one? Right there. We all have -64.
Yeah.
We do. Okay. So then what's the cube root of -64? -4, right? If it was a square root, then we wouldn't be able to take it because of the negative, but then it'd be 8, because the square root of 64 is 8. We're taking the cube root, which means we can have this negative. So we're going to take the cube root and get d equals to -4. Okay. Alright. How are you guys feeling? Is this confusing? Are you feeling good? Check or X. Be honest with me. It's okay if I'm not explaining it correctly. I can help on that. I'm working on it. That's why I'm going to school. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part. Okay. So, can you guys work on this first section actually? And then I will go over them with you. So 1 through 6, can you guys work on? Individually? Or with your group mates, you can ask questions. Okay. I'll do number 5 with you guys actually first, because that's a harder one that we saw from the front, right? So we have number 5, we have the cube root of 1 over 216, it's a fraction. So we're doing the cube root of 1 over the cube root of 216. You get 1 over 6. So you'll see that in number 6 too. And you guys can raise your hand. This is Innocencia, and I can come around and help you with the calculator if you need. they have homework or anything like that? Okay, guys, before you get up, can we go around and you guys give me the answers for the section that you figured out? Yeah.
The first one I got 8.
8. Ian?
-10 on the second one.
12. Negative 14.
1/6.
1/6.
7/2.
7/2. 7/2. Yep. Good job, guys. Thank you for being patient with me.
Howard clap. 1, 2, 3.